he's not just throwing it back and they're landing on top of him. He is gracefully, with like the energy of a pixie, floated across the ring with a 320-pound man in it.
All systems go.
I'm gonna start this properly by failing to open this.
I actually have some notes. Oh, I need to get ready to move this because my neck is fucked. Getting old. Actually, I say this, but I've been actually doing this for over 10 years. My neck just goes quarterly.
It's self-inflicted. I think that's a little bit different.
But you see the
1, 2, 1, 2.
All rise for the El Campeón.
Boo!
We'll get to this much later. I have a start, and I actually want to start with an apology, not to you. Don't get excited. I have an apology, and it's to the Viking Raiders.
Did not expect that, but now I'm all ears.
It's just, I realised I was a bit apprehensive, a bit harsh. I still think half of what they were doing when I was introduced to them was pretty shit.
What, like going bowling and axe throwing?
Yeah. But I've come to respect Ivar. I've come to respect both of them actually massively as wrestlers, and I think I just want to apologise because I do recall there was maybe a couple of moments in season 1 where I just outright were calling them shit as fuck. That's all.
I mean, you are a big man for doing that. That's not good. Holy shit! And I do applaud you for it.
Sometimes you got to admit you were maybe a little bit wrong.
But what's changed? Because their in-ring work is pretty much as good as it's always been. I know Ivar. I know they're really hot on him right now.
Yeah, I think I was just a bit. I didn't really even give the ring work a chance. I wasn't really. I never shout on the ring work, but I just felt like the gimmick was a bit, and I still do think it's a bit. It's one of those I've just come to accept that he's just in this Viking Raider gimmick.
It is a bit of a daft gimmick, but at the same time, they're the only people who could pull it off. Otis, while he is the same figure, couldn't do it.
Maybe. I think he could. He could be like a dumb Viking, the oafish one.
Just because he can't read.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I've got the next point, which was this is more of a. We're probably not really going to talk about WrestleMania. We haven't done this since WrestleMania. WrestleMania has now been. We had all of our predictions, all of our, we basically called most of it. I can't lie.
Yeah.
And we don't really need to go into it, except for my one note that I told you that I was gonna say this the other day when I saw you at Hustle. But the one thing I was gonna say about WrestleMania was just the one moment that needs mentioning from us, which is, hi Mark, which is pretty much what I said in bed when he appeared. I was like I thought of you immediately. As soon as I saw his stupid face. And heard the dong. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. It was a happy for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Olivia, who was near passing out because it was 4 or 5 in the morning by that point in the match, she was just I was like it happened, you heard the and I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. There he is.
I mean, part of that has to be because everyone expected Austin. Everyone was hoping for Austin. Undertaker's what you get when they don't have the shirt in your size. So mum gets you you like Jeff Hardy, Matt's good.
We've got Matt. I do love a bit of broken Matt. Go on, then. Yeah, that was my notes. I don't know if you've got any announcements,
No announcements. I am in awe of how long it's taken us to get back here. But
we're busy people.
We are busy people.
Weddings and shit. We both need to have done weddings. I've been on holiday. I've just been doing shit. Just been doing shit.
This has the same vibe as coming back after. Do you remember? I'm about to alienate the audience here. Do you remember in Doctor Who series 6 when they had a 5-month break and then came back with Let's Kill Hitler?
Yeah. Yeah,
That feels like this. There
This
was
is
no
our
need
Let's
for that
Kill
break.
Hitler. This is good, and that was a banger of an episode. I fucking love that episode.
Yeah, I watched it quite recently. It's a little bit less tone deaf than some of the other ventures into the Nazi regime than they have recently.
Also, don't get me started on Doctor Who, because I could very quickly pivot into a Doctor Who podcast, but respectfully, I have a friend who does a very good Doctor Who podcast, so I'm going to stay out of that area.
Okay. well, that question I mentioned on Tuesday isn't going to come to fruition then.
No. Right. We have a major topic for this episode. Actually, just on the whole schedule now, I actually did have a confession. I realised I've had to admit defeat, and in my head, I envisioned us recording a bunch, and I could like consistently release like at least like a weekly or maybe monthly. And I'm realizing we're probably going to be those YouTubers that we're going to be sporadic. I don't know if you know of John Tron.
Yeah.
He irks me because he just has no schedule anymore. He just comes and goes. And I love his content.
He was doing Starcade.
Oh man,
like he just disappeared for like 6 months, and then he came back and was like, "Sorry, I was gone. Here's Aaron as Darth Vader."
his whole channel was that he disappeared for like a year, like 14 months, and he just popped back, did a video, disappeared for 4 months, came back, did a video, then did 2 videos in like 2 months, and then disappeared. And I think he's on I don't know. I haven't seen him for like a month. That's how I call it. I haven't seen him like.
I
for
think
like
it's
a
been
month.
less than a month. I can never tell anymore because I don't really watch. I prefer when you did gaming videos. But we can't talk about JonTron
I'm sorry.
when we've got such a huge topic.
That's me just confessing that I'm going to start dropping the episodes.
Yeah.
One's actually, I can't even lie, I'll make it go live in a couple of days. Like, one's already on YouTube, just ready to go. It's just private, so I'm just going to drop it. I've got episode 2 ready to drop as well. So basically, yeah, it's coming. It's here. We're no breaks. We'll just release and hope that we get round to recording again faster. That's the announcement. On to the episode.
I mean, would you like to unveil the topic, because this is something that we should have done a little bit earlier, I think. But at the same time, we had to let your return to your first run as a Smark. Let it brew. Let it.
I've been on my way.
Get used to it.
I'm on my way up. You know, you donned me a mid card Smark. I feel like I'm I've got the belt now, so I reckon I'm at least like a number 1 contender for Smarkdom.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to put that to the test later.
But that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Cunt.
But yeah, so obviously there's always like a major topic whenever you see wrestling interviews or interviews with wrestlers, or like, especially like interview shoots and shit. Recently, there's everyone loves the Rushmore, especially like I feel it comes from the sort of sports world. Wrestling is sports entertainment, and it's got enough lineage now that I think it's respectfully you can do a lot of Rushmores, which is exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna do our Rushmores, not just Rushmores, because we're idiots and we like to do dumb ones, and we're gonna really dig deep. We're gonna get into Smarkdom.
We're milking the fuck out of this, is what we're doing.
This is gonna get fun because we haven't shared any like either one's lists. I've got a few lists. I don't even know what list you have.
I've got very obvious basic ones. I've only got like 4 or 5 of them. Part of what I wanted to talk about initially is why do we have a Rushmore? Why do we not have like a top 5 or anything? Is this just because of America? You don't see this in football.
I think it's because and I hate to say this, the vision of it is quite cool. Mount Rushmore's kind of lame, but I suppose if you had like 4 figures of something that were awesome in a topic of awesome, having their heads carved into a mountain is a pretty fucking dope concept.
It's also pretty horrific considering there's a good chance Kane is going to be on yours.
Hey,
just a 90-foot Kane face. Just you have to have the tag.
Fucking awesome. What are you talking about?
I'm imagining Mayor Jacobs.
No, of course it'll be masked Kane. Should we just get into mine straight away? Because you've already called me out.
I know he's going to be on there. I can already guess a second one as well.
I think so. Essentially, like what I want to get into is for the sake of cutting down, but also increasing argument. Because obviously, Rushmore's in all sports, it always comes down to like how can you even narrow it down to that many people. So for me, I want to over-explain the categories to then minimalize justification in each choice. There will be justification and explanation, I'm sure. But so, for example, I'm going to start with the obvious one, which is my Rushmore, which is then I think it's a personal thing. I think it's easy, especially when wrestlers do it, big names as well do it. It's sort of almost people treat it as like gospel, like they're actually naming the 4 best wrestlers, and these are the 4 people that should always be in consideration. I'm like, in actually watching a lot of them now, that you can see the ones who are wrestling fans are sort of older, the sort of generation they grew up with, because some people will name, a lot of greats. I'm seeing this in basketball as well now. Like some people will name, depending on the age of the person you ask, they will drop some old names or some very obscure names, and some of them will just name classics. And I think it's very generational. So on that topic, I'm going to get into my Rushmore, which let's just start with the obvious, Kane.
It was always going to be him.
Because
I can't fault you for that.
I think he's one of the most iconic gimmicks of all time. Like you can't really shake the Hellfire and Brimstone, like that pop, the ring gimmick with the fire. Like it's just, it was unstoppable, and it's great. It never really got old for me. Like that side to it. Obviously, the mask and removal and all those changes and story side. Yeah, there's ups and downs, but everyone, especially people who have been around as long as Kane and people longer, if you nitpick, it's obvious. Like they've got the same thing, which obviously gets into my second, which is going to be Undertaker, of course.
Oh, you actually did put him in?
Of course, I'm going to put Taker in. He's one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time.
I almost put him in out of sympathy. For one of the greatest of all time.
It's a little bit of a sympathy one, but I was like, come on, he has to make one of our lists. So, Taker's like, there is no Kane without Taker. I admit, I fully enjoyed. For me, my peak of wrestling when I was younger was watching him sort of in that transition to the American Badass and being confused but amazingly entertained by it. And then obviously watching him come back and actually seeing, I suppose, for me, the Phenom gimmick, like in full force, like older and mature. I always enjoyed it. You never don't enjoy Taker, I suppose, and that was always it for me.
Even if sometimes you're laughing at him, you're still getting some kind of enjoyment out of him. I'd say that run in '99 was miserable. Everyone remembers when he had like the fucking top knot. As the,
and he was just like sluggishly walking around. Like he wasn't quite a dead man. He was more just a bored man.
It was when he was doing the Mr. Mark Calloway has started to believe his own gimmick, and that was cool. A little bit rapey, but
it was weird.
But then he just, when you start, your best mate at work starts turning up, and he's got a bit of stubble. He always shaves. You smell a little bit today, man. Are you okay?
He just grunts at you. He's like, yeah. You're like, yeah, not much for conversation today, mate. He's like, And
as a man who went through that first divorce, I would have thought he would have been a surefire candidate to be a guy who knows not to get a neck tattoo of your new wife.
Oh, it's become the rip. Anyway, on to my next candidate. Another obvious one. Because you know what we're about to do. We're just going to shoot on Mark, which we can't let this keep happening.
Yeah, thank you.
I had to cut you off. So next is it's obvious. It's HBK. It's got to be.
Those were the 3 I was going to guess for you. Yeah. Shawn Michaels especially, because this man wants Shawn Michaels underwear. And I'm going to be the man to buy it for him for Christmas.
Please. It's another one. Like, you can't... For me, a lot of mine comes down to a little bit of a... I suppose different aspects of wrestling, and HBK had like a good 3 of them that you need to be a superstar, which is like he had the look, he had the ability, and he had the song. And that's all you need. That's all you needed, and you never got bored of it, and you never got bored of him. And yeah, come on, man, the move. Come on, everyone loves Sweet Chin Music. It's one of the most overused moves now in wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Because of how sick it was when he did it.
When other people do it, it's a thigh slap. Yeah. When he does it, it's a chin whack. That's what it is.
Oh, it's been like absolutely ruined.
I don't think you can ruin that move. I think you can devalue it, but I think the idea of someone like I don't mind when
make me bring up the Usos brother fight at WrestleMania.
Oh, it was awful. There's no point talking about it. On a card of good matches, this was the only thumbs down. But I think
Battle of the Super Kicks.
That match sucked because it was the only thing they did.
Super kick
Yeah,
fight.
but for example, if you know how Kevin Owens does the stunner,
Yeah,
I don't mind that because I can fully believe that he does a good stunner.
I don't love it though.
But every time I do it, he does it. I could think, oh yeah, but that's not a Stone Cold stunner. You're not going to put him away with that.
Oh yeah. No,
Like, I can rationalize that in my head. Same goes for a super kick. Like his still looks the nicest, Shawn Michaels.
And it's not
Of
because he
course.
does the tune in the band bit, although
Yeah.
that was awesome as well.
Or if he catches you out of nowhere. That's another thing people don't do enough of anymore. They don't catch you with a super kick out of nowhere.
Unless you're the Usos, because
Yeah.
it's so out of nowhere because it's just all the time. Anyway, my last one, which is I hope it's going to be the surprise, but again a little bit obvious. But it's for me it's Rob Van Dam.
I mean, it's obvious for a particular reason. It's not who I would have
Oh
guessed,
yeah,
though.
no, for that, yeah, you did. RVD for me was always one of my favorites. I think he was again just one of the most like entertaining in ring guys, especially for the era that I grew up watching. Like there was all the great gimmicks, but like I think it almost this wouldn't be a testament, but I would say this: like, can you name a memorable or any Rob Van Dam promos?
I remember when he looked into the camera and went, Rob Van Dam.
Right?
But sometimes that's all you need.
He didn't need to do shit, and it was great because he literally, like I said, with all the terms of the aspects, it's like, you know, he had a sick intro, but for him, it was just like his meter on in-ring entertainment with its many fucking attributes as well, was just maxed out for me. And it was just like, yeah, RVD's great.
That is a great fucking pick. I don't think many people would have him on their lists, but I don't think many people, really any, would be able to say, what a dumb pick. Because everyone loves Rob Van Dam. Maybe not the people watching TNA in 2010, but no one was watching TNA in 2010.
They've all got their bad eras. I think you can't be great without having a little bit of a bad run.
No.
And a memorable bad run at that.
The reason it was bad was because he was so good. He was always winning.
It was a reign of terror.
Oh, you're damn right I'll never lose. Did you ever see much of him in the original ECW?
Tiny bits. In my early YouTube, sort of, when I say early, as in like before peak YouTube, like when I first discovered YouTube, and like shamefully, one of my very early internet searches was Rey Mysterio no mask, and
Of course it was.
and you know, like Kane no mask, and you know, and then when I was done trying to, you know, find out the secrets, yeah, it was like watching like things I knew I couldn't normally see on TV, so it was like ECW highlights and WCW shit. So yeah, I think that's when I caught on to both of them. Like it was just before their debuts. So like when I knew about like Rey Mysterio coming in, and I was surprised by RVD coming in when he finally made the transition. I was like, oh shit, he's here. Like this guy I'd seen on the internet that seems awesome. And like I remember seeing him in a couple like magazines my friend's like older brother or cousin sort of had. But yeah. Onto yours. So mine is, you know, Kane, Undertaker, HBK, RVD.
I'm going to start out with a shared one, and that is Shawn Michaels. I don't. Growing up, I didn't fully appreciate him, but I think what he did that was so incredible is I'm going to exclude Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is non-canon.
Are you gonna say he always had great runs?
He didn't have a bad run. He didn't have a single one, and he knew when to pack it in. He could have wrestled for another 3 or so years, and he would have been fine. He would have had another classic WrestleMania match in him as well.
I was a little bit disappointed in the back-to-back Taker fights.
Really?
Something about it felt... I don't know, I've got an issue with that, like, I think personally just about a year-long gap rematch sort of gimmicks. I feel like it just sort of... I don't know, because you always have, like, one already had, like, a long build-up, and then we're just going to do it again. And, like, yeah, I know they were bangers, but it was just always... I think it annoyed me that that's how he chose to go out with a back-to-back.
I didn't view it like that, though, because the whole
I do now, though. I didn't then, but I do now.
Right. Because the whole gimmick of sort of him knowing he was that fucking close, even though in reality he actually did make a few mistakes in that match. I don't care. It's such a good angle to work with, and seeing him go mental because of it is great. And you could argue that the reason he was so desperate to win is why he got beaten so clearly. Like the first match was close. The second match, he lost outright.
I know. I think I was so annoyed. He gave me hope. They gave me hope that he was going to be the one to end the streak. I think, and I think part of me hasn't really gotten over that. It's one of the wrestling things I haven't really gotten over up there with Katie Vick.
You didn't have to mention Katie Vick.
I had to in that moment.
No, you didn't.
It was right. I was talking about my goats, man. I had to. I've talked about everyone's bad ones. Anyway, so yeah, HBK.
HBK. I've gone for probably the most obvious of all time, Stone Cold.
Yeah,
I
fair.
think because I've met him, I have a soft spot for him.
I keep forgetting this.
But also, there's something about Stone Cold in the sense that people they've tried to redo the Stone Cold angle so many times of having the guy who shouldn't be on top, but in fact is actually really good in the ring and really charismatic, and everyone follows him. That's one thing. But there's also a real bias in here because only like in the last year or so have I started watching him before the neck injury. He could move, man. And that was him before he got big. After he had a neck injury, he was still putting out five-star matches. He had 3 5-star matches with The Rock at WrestleMania. He had other matches at WrestleMania. But I don't think... Obviously, Hogan is... You can't do a Rushmore thing without talking about Hogan, because Hogan... We wouldn't have pro wrestling if it wasn't for the hot dog man. But... Hogan's is out of date now. You watch Hogan and you just don't believe him. I believe Stone Cold. I fully believe that character. And I can't help but... He has to be there. He's the GOAT.
I'm going to say something controversial. He's not my GOAT. And the only reason is because as good as I admit, and can always accept that Stone Cold is one of the best of all time, and greatest of all time, he wasn't my favourite when I watched him. So it'd be wrong of me to put him on my list, which is why he's not on my list. I love Stone Cold. He is amazing.
Yeah.
But he's not on my list.
I get you. You have to bear in mind, I started regularly watching like the actual programming, probably like the very year he took his ball and went home.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the same kind of thing, but it's only when I've gone back and I started watching things like the old Raws, shit like that. I even think that really depressing 2001 run where he was the angriest, saddest man alive. I enjoyed that.
Well, my peak Stone Cold when I was watching was probably, in terms of like my most viewing of him when I was like, trying to tune in weekly, was Alliance Stone Cold. So when I say like there's a valid reason why he wasn't one of my favorites, because I didn't see 97, 98 Stone Cold. Like much like you, I've gone back and watched that and appreciated it.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's why. But yeah, anyway, on with yours. So what we say? You've gone HBK Stone Cold.
I've gone for... I think it's one you'll respect, because I know you like this guy.
I hope so.
And it's another one who I only started to love truly as I got older. And only once I started to dabble into TNA. It's Kurt Angle.
Fair enough.
It's Kurt fucking Angle.
Kurt is one of the GOATs. 100%.
100%. It's why it was so sad. I'm going again with the sad part of it, is seeing him when he came back in 2018 and seeing him not the same guy.
Oh, see, I didn't actually see that. I haven't seen it. I was on the cusp of almost seeing it in my rewatching, but I somehow stopped before 2018.
Well, I don't blame you. 2017 to 2020 WWE was the worst years.
I
It
need
was.
to watch it then.
There was a Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns feud.
I know about it. I've seen it. I've
Of
seen the
course you
Survivor
do.
Series. Like, is it Survivor Series? No, the King of the Ring.
Oh,
Like
King
the
Corbin.
the King Corbin match with the dog food.
Yeah.
Saw it the other day. I was sad.
Why'd you do that? You should have known the match between those two would suck.
Whenever it's a bit old and like it's with main players or big names at the time, I'm like, I should probably just endure this. Don't get me started. I'm watching 2012 NXT.
Was that season 4?
I don't know. It was a Dusty season when Dusty came in.
Oh, Dusty! I still can't remember. That's how good it was.
That Seth Rollins becoming the inaugural champion.
Oh, like actual NXT, not the game show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I respect that. That's hard as fuck.
It's alright. Anyway,
do you know who he's going to lose that belt to?
I don't.
I'm not telling you. You can tell us your feelings on the podcast. Hopefully, I'm remembering this right. But I know these two people are champions, and I know one of them being, and they're both hilarious. But yeah, Kurt Angle. I just think when you watch wrestling and there's a guy who you fully believe, I don't think there's anyone who tops that. Kurt Angle, whenever he's doing his ground takedowns, I fully believe that he has got the Undertaker fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
obviously, I love Chad Gable right now because not many people have very convincing lift and sort of suplex work. And the people he moves and how he moves them is just Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah,
watching him suplex German suplex and Bronson Reed is
yeah.
How is he doing that? I can get he can do it. Even obviously I get how they work. He jumps a bit to help him, but the way that he has a decent glide with everyone, it's just
the glide,
how is he doing that?
Especially when he does the rolling backwards one. And it's every single time it looks like he's not done it. And then all of a sudden they start to lift. But they're in the air for 2 seconds. He's not just throwing it back and they're landing on top of him. He is gracefully, with the energy of a pixie, floated across the ring with a 320-pound man in his arms.
Someone with who looks like they got triple his mass.
Yeah.
It's freaky. It's ant strength.
Yes. If there was a whole army of Chad Gables and they could all think like that, we'd be fucked. But Kurt Angle is... He's up there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but I fully agree with that choice. He just couldn't make my list. He's in my top 10, of course.
He has to be. It's the rules. The man's mainly remembered for his comedy and Perk Angle stuff these days. But yeah. I think at the same time, people do that because they know he will always be remembered. And they love him. We love you, Kurt.
I just got a short, little reel in my head of just a little compilation. It's just it's the flip onto what's his name?
Was it Samoa Joe?
No.
It's the one off the TNA stage, isn't it?
Yeah. What's his name? Is it well, I want to say hypnosis, but it's not hypnosis. It's something.
Suicide?
Can't remember.
Psychosis?
Psychosis, I think.
Was it Psychosis? Fuck.
Yeah. I flip onto him the yeah.
Yes.
And then the current meme.
I think there's a better version of the meme though. It's the one where he's just and he's got the gum shield in, and he looks fucking mental.
Jason Booker T's wife.
Don't quote him. We're not allowed. We don't have enough pull with the YouTube monetary system yet.
Well, I'm not a big fan of.
You can say it. We can.
The Blacks. Nah, honestly, Kurt Angle was one of the go. We need to finish all this, but we're taking too long.
Yes, we are. I'm gonna get numbers 4 and 5. I've been floating about all day trying to figure it out, and I'm gonna tell you who the one who I didn't pick it was very, very quickly. It was Ric Flair. I think Ric Flair. I've gone back and watched a lot of his late '80s stuff, and especially stuff with Ricky Steamboat. And that dude, they had a moveset of 4 or 5 moves. Wrestlers have more of those in their comebacks these days. But he told such good stories. And he had this amazing way of, even though he was the bad guy, and he came across as a chicken shit heel, you fully believed that he was really good. He was just a cunt.
He's just misunderstood.
No, we understand him. He's a cunt. But it almost ties into the fact that if he wanted to, he could push himself and actually be the best. But he does it by underhanded means, and then every now and then he'll pull out the most amazing suplex ever. And obviously his facial expressions, everything like that. But the reason he didn't make it is because this other person is someone who I grew up with the wrestling community in my ear, and I don't regret not liking them at the time. But now I love this man. You can probably guess who it is. It's him. Him. Do 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 do.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Yeah.
Cena's wild because at the same time, don't get me wrong, he was forced down everyone's throat, but he has also not abandoned wrestling. He was there for 20 years. Love John Cena. I am ready to move on.
Fair. It's a fair list. So I want to at least do my next one, which is sort of why when I start explaining them. So my next one is my Smarky list.
Oh, you do a Smark list.
So this one I explain by like it's the people that I feel like as a Smark you should have on your list. So that's why it's different to my goats. It's like I've got my first one was like my Rushmore, but they're like my goats.
This is you picking what that guy would pick, just because he wants to come across as cool.
But still my choice of those, because there's a lot of those, really. But here's my choices. So I'll start by agreeing with your last choice, and I've got John Cena. I'm having major mic issues here.
That's mental that he could be on a Smark list.
He has to be. And there's a reason. I wrote a little something in brackets next to my SmarkZ list, and I wrote iconic. The undeniably iconic. And I think actually, when I finish my list, there's something about them that I think links all of mine. To a degree. One of them's a bit of a questionable, but I'll get around to it. So the first is Cena. Because, yeah, he's probably currently the most relevant, most famous wrestler on the planet still, I would say. Like, in the same way that The Rock could be away and still be considered a WWE superstar and one of the most famous peoples and WWE wrestlers.
Yeah, he has like an intrinsic tie to WWE. It's like you hear the name and you think of wrestling. Yeah, I get that.
Which is why next is The Rock. Because
this feels...
Because he's someone who doesn't, I find, get put on the list, and I think it's because of his Hollywood ties, but I think for me, it's like, does that not speak to how actually, like, because, yes, I would say now Cena is actually, it seems disrespectful, and to a degree it is a little bit. Cena's funnier in ways. I don't know, maybe The Rock's just a bit dated. Maybe that's the reason I'm saying Cena seems like he has greater potential as an actor now. But The Rock paved the way for it. Like, Hogan tried and it was it was awful.
Yeah, it was.
But The Rock was like the first person to transition to Hollywood, and it was believable and actually like accepted at the time and has been ever since. And as a wrestler, he still gets the greatest pops of all time. Like,
he does. You have to bear in mind though, it took him a long time to get that level in Hollywood. If you consider, let's look at the Scorpion King. That's his start. Could you name another really big hit he had until like Jumanji? Fast and Furious 5?
He worked his way, and in a weird way, like with appearances and doing other things, and that's what I found quite, like, in terms of like paving the way. I think that's what it is, because even Cena, like, the Cena's first movie was that fucking The Marine shit, and that sucked ass.
That was in like 2007. He can't help that.
And the Scorpion King was like 2003. It was a spin-off from one of the Mummy. Like, come on, it was a spin-off of a Mummy movie. Yeah,
a really bad Mummy movie. I'm sorry.
So, you know, it's almost like there's a lot of mirroring, and I think The Rock makes it, because I think even now, like, he's not even done with wrestling really.
No, that creepy ass Raw after WrestleMania promo.
I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Hold it? Can I touch it, Cody?
So yeah, I've got Rock, Cena, and then I mentioned him. I'm not happy about it, but I've got to put Hogan.
Yeah. See, this doesn't feel smarky to me. This feels like the canon Rushmore.
Wait to my last one.
Oh, fuck.
Hogan, just because, again, I think he had an interesting impression on me because he was someone who I knew about sort of weirdly as like a pop culture icon and as a wrestler as a kid before I really, really was into wrestling. And then his return was it was the first time I actually like, it's weird again, I look back at it now and it was the first time I like had an appreciation for someone's like, oh, he's come back after like a long time and he's like one of the greatest of all times. And this is like, almost like, even though I didn't love it, I understood and like I accepted it. I was like, yeah, there's a reason this is happening. Almost like was the first thing to almost like break down the walls of like my understanding of like the business. I was like, yeah, this is there's a reason he's getting the WWE Championship again. It's because it's fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Probably it's almost like wrong to not let him go for this championship. I hated that run. I absolutely, at the time,
it lasted a month. Everyone
I hated that run. But yeah,
I mean, he's a level of iconic in terms of the look. Where you remember on episode 1 we did the action figures. If you were to melt down all of those action figures into a blob, you couldn't tell any of them. But if you did it to Hulk Hogan, you'd know. It's the hot dog with yellow trunks.
Is that yellow? Is that the trace that yellow? I was like, it's got to be Hogan, isn't it?
It has to be, unless it's Randy Savage being Hogan's bitch back in '88. But it's unfortunate with Hogan because Hogan is like what we do to the Undertaker. Everyone does to Hogan. The bloke lies about everything, and he's also a horrible man. But at the same time, as we said earlier, we wouldn't have any of this right now if it wasn't for him. No one else would have carried it.
He raised the bar. Obviously, he was like, when you dive into the politics, he was Vince's golden ticket taking over the industry.
Yeah, that 10-year contract he had.
Yeah.
Christ.
But yeah, so there's Hogan. And my last one.
Is it Roman Reigns?
No.
Okay, I'll let you off.
No, it's not Roman. No. It's Sting.
Sting?
Yes. It's Sting.
When you say Sting, I just immediately imagine some guy in a bar just vehemently defending Sting. No, you only like The Undertaker because he's in WWF. Sting could do everything he could do and more.
My explanation of Sting is going to be the way in which I tie a bow around this list. And I think Sting deserves to be in Hall of Fame. He deserves to be mentioned whenever we're talking about some of the most iconic wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
And that's why he's on this list. That's why he's with these people. Because I think he's undeniably, like, unlike the rest, the other three, I'll explain. I would say the reason they're on this list because they are all somehow and in some time during the last, like, 3 decades have all been, or I'll go back as, like, maybe 4 or 5 now, have been, like, household names.
Yeah, so okay.
Like Hulk Hogan.
That's the Mark list then.
Yeah, I say Smark. It's the Marky list. Like,
I think he's spot
for me, Hulk Hogan he was a household name once upon a time.
He still is.
You didn't have to know wrestling or have watched wrestling to know Hulk Hogan. You don't have to have watched wrestling to know The Rock or know that he was a wrestler. John Cena reached that point in the last decade, and Sting's a bit of a different one. I feel like he's iconic in his own way because I feel like because of his tenure and the fact that he never hit WWE really until like he was in his twilight
50s, yeah,
and still only retired recently and touched so many areas of wrestling, and he's arguably one of the most recognizable wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, he is, especially the Crow era. But even then, like, everyone recognizes Surfer Sting, and even though they look completely different. Sure, the face, yes, of course he's not the same. But in terms of character change, there is no bigger one. And for those both to be considered quite iconic, that is impressive. I do get what you mean. I, however, am going to agree with you all the way until Sting. Because if we're talking the marks, I think maybe this is a bias because I grow up in the Instagram age. Maybe it's because I know that a lot of younger people will know who this is. But I think if you go up to anyone under the age of 50 and you say the words RKO out of nowhere, they know Randy Orton. I think if you were to say who's Sting, they wouldn't know who he is, both because of the police and because of WCW. But if you said Randy Orton, they go RKO.
Yeah, but that's where it gets a bit tricky for me because I think it depends. Like I think for me, I'm marking it on like people that I know now, like so my mates who I know maybe watched wrestling when they were younger, but haven't watched wrestling now for easily like coming up 20 years. And I asked them, "Do you know who Sting is?" They'll definitely know who Randy Orton is, but when I'd say if I was to ask them like who is like the bigger wrestler or the more like more like legendary, I think most of them would now say Sting because of when we were younger, he had that fucking like that aura about him.
Yeah.
Randy Orton's a WWE legend now, but Sting was a legend when I was a kid already, and he's only just retired.
Somehow, yeah.
And it's crazy. That's why it took me long thought, and I wasn't sure about it, but I had to rationalize it with things like that. I was like, the man's only just retired, and his farewell was probably like, interestingly, like even though it's past and everyone's really talking about it now, it almost did sort of pause the wrestling world for a moment. Everyone was like, "Shit, Sting is retired." Everyone,
yeah,
like Sting's done. It's over. Like this man's been wrestling for like 40 fucking years. It's done. It's over.
Interestingly, though, when he had the original, I don't think he ever announced the retirement. When he was forced out of wrestling back in like 2015 because of the injury, there wasn't the same level. So 10 years later, he retires. That's a sign that people give a shit. When people actually come back for your comeback tour. Oh no, yeah, you can do a run. And then he wins his last match, which is you're not allowed to do that.
I don't know.
And everyone's like, yeah, good for him.
I feel like that's some Vince shit. And we're done with Vince shit.
Oh yeah, we are. Thank God.
You gotta put someone over. Fuck that. You gotta give the crowd a final show.
Yeah.
Fuck putting people over every time.
You have to put Baron Corbin over because we can't. We can't get him over.
Poor Kurt.
We will come back to
Poor Kurt.
I'm gonna go because the 4 I've got, I know you have. I may have been lazy, but at the same time, part of me feels like I didn't know how in depth we were gonna get, so I left a little bit of room to float. I'm gonna go into guilty pleasures because I am absolutely when it comes to music, I'm of the belief that you shouldn't have guilty pleasures. If you want to bump Psy for like 12 hours straight, you do it because it makes you happy. It's art.
I'll judge you, but
yeah, sure. But like, don't be guilty about it. Enjoy what you like. Wrestling, you should be fucking guilty. You should be so sorry for what you like. And for some of these people, I am so sorry because number one's Eugene.
oh yeah, you should be sorry about that.
I should be.
So I'm assuming you're not talking about in the ring. You're talking about like overall.
Yeah,
as a
I don't
character.
like pointing and laughing at disabled young men. I just think, I mean, especially when you look back on certain elements like the bouncy castle with Triple H.
For fuck's sake, why have you gone down this fucking route?
Because whenever I talk about this podcast to my dad, he always asks how Eugene's doing.
Why does he know about Eugene?
Because it's stuck out in his head. I don't know why. Eugene is the only thing he remembers.
I'm now picturing a situation where, like, as soon as your dad saw that, he lost all credibility for you when you're interested in WWE, and now
Yeah.
he picks that to just continue to mock you. Like, how's Eugene doing? You're like, he doesn't wrestle anymore, Dad.
Nick
I like Cody
really
Rhodes
good.
now.
Nick was really good. I don't care.
And what's wrong with Cody Rhodes? Nothing. Dyes his hair blonde like his dad. He's got a weird neck
dead,
tattoo.
Dad. He's dead. Okay. I just thought I just thought Eugene was really good in the ring, and I liked to root for him. And I always thought that hopefully one day they'd feel really bad for making fun of disabled people, and they'd actually have a plot twist in there, and it'd be like, oh, actually, no, Eugene's fucking great. He's just autistic or something. And as a man with Asperger's, I would love that.
I told you I caught glimpses of it when I was speed running, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like with I suppose what I try to do a lot of the time, and I try to suggest to Olivia when we're watching, I'm like, just put on some goggles of this era, because
Yeah.
it's not good if you judge it by today's standards. And Eugene was one of those where, like, goggles on or off, it was just, I'm like, what are we doing?
It's ableism.
It was just like, it's like when someone just straight, it's like watching Quentin Tarantino saying dead nigger storage. It's like, oh man, like, there's not really ever an excuse for this, but we're just letting him do it.
Let him do another movie and we'll forget about it.
We just let him, don't do it. Just, yeah, why do we keep watching it? It is a good movie. Like, it's really, and the scene's really good.
Yeah. But that's
Eugene.
It's
like, fuck.
I'm going to compare Eugene to Pulp Fiction. That's what it was like watching Nick Dinsmore wrestle. You know, like, they shouldn't be doing this to him. And the
why are we letting this happen?
People who have mental or physical handicaps. But even, like, with that, he could fucking wrestle. He was good in the ring. I didn't like him. I especially didn't like him in SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 when there was a Eugene aeroplane minigame where you had to control him running around the ring like...
Why do I remember this?
Why don't you? Because I feel like you'd have to try pretty hard to forget that. But... Maybe I'm a horrible monster, but...
A little bit.
Eugene.
Let's move on. Who else is on this horrible list?
No, I was about to say none of these are as bad as that, but there is one. I'm getting cancelled after this one. Second one's Baron Corbin. I think Baron Corbin is really fucking talented.
I'm willing to give him a try. That sounds so weird.
I'll dabble in Corbin.
I suppose he's on my, like, I've got a long list of people I want to check out, eras I want to check out, like, you know, and he's on my intrigue list. I want to see the transition to long hair to what we have now. Not in its entirety. Like, I'm not watching.
Oh no, it was just a quick shave. It wasn't that long a transition.
No, but still, I know that, like, when he was introduced, he had long flowing hair, and now he's bald and acts a bit like the vibe he has now is like the guy who was cool in year 7, but by year 11 he got fully exposed, and now he tries to play it cool, but, like, you can tell deep down his ego never fully recovered from whatever shattered it in that tenure.
That's really fucking good. That is spot on. And they've used that. Like, genuinely, like, they went from Baron Corbin with his hairline, you could tell it was receding, but in a weird way I feel like it added to the character. And then he lost the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, savage. Yeah. That's never good. That's definitely
to Jinder Mahal. By the
way. We had hope in you, but yeah, now we're putting the plug. You're going to be the one to. We're going to use you as an example that we don't just. It's not an automatic title when you win Money in the Bank, even though, like, what, 80% have won, 90%. Like, I'm pretty sure, isn't this like no woman has failed Money in the Bank cash in so far?
No. That's because they usually do it on the same night to get it over and done with. In fairness to Corbin, the reason they didn't do anything with him isn't because of his ability. It's because he spoke out in a meeting and said, actually, no, we should pay attention to concussions. Because he was an NFL star.
I have seen this. I remember reading about it. Weirdly, it was on my, like, radar when I was not fully watching, but I do remember reading about something like this, about, like, someone who spoke out, and then people were basically pointing out that he was being, like, blatantly punished for speaking out.
Which comes on to his next gimmick, Constable Corbin, which was probably the high point of the rest of his career, where he was he was basically the GM overall, and then he went through a depressed angle where he had no money, and there was this whole segment where he like he'd won he'd done a favor for someone and they gave him $20, and he looked so happy. He was like just like this big giant bald baby, like who just found 20 quid, and then he gets beaten up and mugged for it. It's like, how can you hate him? Then he wins like $1 million in the lottery, and he becomes Happy Corbin.
I've seen Happy Corbin. Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I don't know why you're doing this podcast if you saw Happy Corbin.
Not a lot of it. I've just seen it. Yeah, savage. So why is he on your list?
Because I feel like he has made the most of every single thing that has come his way. You should not be thriving with a depressed character.
Speaking of Happy Corbin, I feel like that you know, in reference to my savage analogy about him being a shattered ego alpha, former alpha, I feel like the one thing that you can definitely see that's brought joy back into his life is being paired with Bron Breakker, like because
Yeah.
Bron Breakker's like future is undeniable. So being paired with him is like, I will at least be featured in some sick YouTube lists of like underrated tag teams and greatest NXT tag teams because I was with Bron. Like,
amazing tag teams you forgot happened. He got a standing ovation at the NXT takeover. You know,
fair play.
Who would have guessed that? But also because as soon as they sent him back to NXT, he became fucking great again. He has aura in NXT. He has. It's the Shayna Baszler problem, where you have someone who's in NXT and they're absolutely amazing because they're believable and they've got this maybe not being amazing on the mic, but like their presence is always felt. And then they go up to the main roster and they don't know what to do with them. Like they think they've caught on to what made the character work, and then it's the Game of Thrones season 7 and 8 problem, where they've got the plot points, but they don't know how to do anything with them. So he isn't the problem. WWE is the problem. And whenever I see Baron Corbin on my screen, I'm really happy. Genuinely. He is a guilty pleasure. Next up, I don't know if these should be a guilty pleasure, but they're not getting any love. And I know they're my partner's favourite. It's Pretty Deadly.
I don't think it should be a guilty pleasure yet. I like Pretty Deadly.
I don't think they should be at all. I just put them on there because I just wanted to mention Pretty Deadly, really.
I just want an excuse. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. They've sort of had like a push and then a pullback. Yeah,
the first time I saw them actually was at Money in the Bank last year, the SmackDown before, and they came out to like really gay music. I was immediately enamoured.
Really gay music.
Yeah.
Love it.
They come from Grays in London.
No, they're really funny. Like I really like them. I feel like, I can't lie, I feel like for some weird reason their pull was like nerfed because they wanted to push the other British tag team in New Catch Republic.
Yeah, even though
in an effort to fix what's his name? Butch to whatever. Pete Dunne back, and they're like, all right, well, we don't want to push too much British stuff, so let's put Pretty Deadly on the bench. And that's where they're just on the bench at the moment. Like, I don't know where they've been for the last like 2 months.
They've been doing
just video packages and shit.
Yeah, with the Queen in the sky. It's all great.
It's hilarious. They're great, but they've not had a match or been in any sort of tag team contention. It's weird.
I think part of the reason I put them on guilty pleasures is I think there's a little bit of tone deafness. I think WWE still kind of hasn't gotten over the whole gay people are silly thing. And I know that something as dodgy as that, I say after my decree of universal love for Eugene. I know I shouldn't say that, but
I don't see what the issue is with Pretty Deadly. We did Billy and Chuck.
Yeah, there's a reason that I didn't enjoy Billy and Chuck.
I loved Billy and Chuck. They won the tag team titles. They were a legitimate threat. It was great. I loved Billy and Chuck. Anyway, so
they were pretending to be gay, damn it.
Pretty Deadly, sort of on your list, sort of not on your list.
Let's say they're not. But Rushmore has been hit by a bomb, So there's only 3. But Big Lots are pretty deadly. Both really talented guys. Eileen loves you. Number 4 is Kerwin White.
Remind me of Cohen White?
Chavo Guerrero cosplaying a white guy.
Oh dear.
Have you not seen Kerwin White?
No, I have like a mental image, but I don't really understand the context. I feel like, you know, when you just got a context of just like memes in your head.
Yeah. You can kind of see the Titantron where it's just him turning to the camera and doing that.
Yeah.
While
yeah,
fake
wait,
Franks and Archer plays.
Is it like sort of weird? Is he like in a dress?
No. He would come out in like a polo shirt, a vest. And slacks on the golf cart.
yeah. This was like
Dolph Ziggler was
weirdly
his
like
caddy.
this was weird like peak SmackDown era, like early SmackDown era.
Yeah.
yeah, I remember.
And I can't remember if it was before or after Eddie's passing. Fuck, I hope it was before. But it's one of those where if it wasn't for the loss of Eddie, it would have been so fucking dumb. That I love it. I love stupid gimmicks like that. I love the idea of a pro wrestler. Just, like, all of a sudden, like, even though you've known him as one thing for years and years, just kind of be like, I really like 1950s America. Like he'd played Fallout and gotten the wrong idea from it.
Just misunderstood it.
Misunderstood guy. Comes out with golf clubs. He's not over remotely. But I think part of it is also just because I like Chavo.
I got a bit of time for Chavo, but for me, it's like I can't help but shake the feeling that he was mostly like jobbing. Like he didn't really like, you know, I hate to say this, playing second fiddle to Eddie in most gimmicks.
Yeah, he always was.
It was like, cause like, you know, even when they were tag champions, like it was more. It felt like it was more to push Eddie than it was to push them both.
He did essentially become champion the month after the blow-off match between Eddie and Chavo. So maybe
even in the cruiserweight division that was respectable at times, you know, he was cruiserweight champion several times, I believe.
Do you know who Chavo lost the belt to?
I want to say someone like really ridiculous, like Rico or something.
No, it was to his own dad.
Oh, Jesus, yes.
To a man with a Mountain Goat song named after him. Incredible fucking album, by the way. I feel like one day we'll have to do a review of that album. But
okay, so that was your list, right?
That was top 4 reasons why I should be cancelled. But please indulge me with
mine.
Yours.
Doesn't get much better. I've got a list that I've been second guessing calling it what it is, which is my jobbers list.
Okay.
But I think the reason I want to call them jobbers is because I feel like, not to be rude to any of these wrestlers, you're on my list for a reason because you're my favourites of people that I consider in this light. I'm not right. It's just how I viewed it. They're on my list as people that, you know, they were never really part of anything important, never like major storylines, and most of the time I saw them, it just seems like they were out just to put someone else over or just to fill a slot. But they were entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, they were placeholders.
I personally think this is actually just a list of the best deep cut wrestlers from the 2000s. But okay, so first is my beloved Lance Storm.
Oh fuck yeah, Lance Storm!
Lance Storm was great. Like, you know, being that extra guy in the angry Canadian group, being
Americans,
being the guy that I feel like opened every heat for like a good year.
yeah.
Fighting Spike Dudley or Taz.
Like, the amount of times he probably lost to Spike Dudley. Fuck.
Oh, it was great. I love Lance. He's someone who seemed like especially seeing interviews with him now, he seemed like he was actually a great sport. So
yeah, He has a sense of humor.
Like he had a great run as well. Like apparently, like what him and Jericho are like best friends, aren't they? And like they basically like came up together. Obviously, Jericho sort of
Yeah.
shot off, and he was just like, "Cool, I'm just here to wrestle and have a good time."
Yeah, like sometimes, like I mean, having seen what the bare minimum salary as a main roster guy is now, I can understand it.
I watched that fucking Maven Huffman, and he did one with what the fucking names, the two that I saw in Uganda as well, the Asian guy and the black guy.
What?
The Asian guy and the black guy. Terrible. They're wrestlers, sort of, but they're not wrestling anymore. Really,
Was it?
they're kind of young.
They're pretending to be brothers.
They're the ones that were they part of Maximum Male Models?
I know who you mean. Yeah.
But they were talking about salaries and talking about how the pay works now, because maybe talking about how it used to work and how you had like a sort of very small base salary, but basically if you were on a card, you got some pay. But now they're basically like on a salary, and then you basically get bonus for matches and certain things. And then obviously certain people get bigger contracts, but
Yeah, of course.
but they're basically explaining like the best thing to be if you're not like on the main event is basically to not be on the card, because you're just getting paid for not wrestling or even having to travel.
Which, in the life of a jobber, that's probably the worst. Because you're going to be on most cards if you're a jobber.
You're there just to lose in like a 5-minute match to open the show.
One of the guys on my list of jobbers, I'm not going to say who it is until it's my turn to go, but they had a 269 match losing streak.
Oh God.
And it was made into a storyline and everything.
We'll see. He's probably not on my list. So next, another one of our somewhat mentioned. He was on one of your. I'm gonna have to bleep such good shit. Lists. It's our favorite hairy man. It's Albert.
It's Albert. I love Albert.
The man of so many gimmicks and so many changes and so many stables. He was part of so many different groups. It's actually hilarious.
He was in Tits and Arse. Everyone loves Tits and Arse.
Wasn't he? Well, it was obviously with the man I love to hate, Brodus Clay.
Oh, God damn it.
In Tons of Funk.
I forgot the name of them.
Oh, I won't.
There's a reason I forgot the name.
Because when I was speedrunning, they opened every show. And part of me can't get over how annoyingly good Somebody Got My Mama actually is.
I mean, that's a WCW song.
Is it actually?
I believe it's either a WCW song or it was brought in with Ernest the Cat Miller when he came in from WCW.
Somebody got my mama.
The problem is, I can 100% imagine Vince dancing in Gorilla to that. Just like throwing moves like, somebody stop me!
Oh, that definitely was a flex for him, because I already know that, what's his name? Brodus was being punished for trying to basically pick his gimmick. And A-Train, Albert, just seemed to transition from more, at that time, more degrading gimmick to more degrading gimmick. It was like, hey, you been in Japan? Hey, come back and we're going to draw tattoos all over you and just pretend you were never Albert.
You caught Japanese.
Like, you're just tensing now, or tensai, whatever the fuck, and and we're gonna pretend. And I remember I watched it. They pretended he never was Albert. They referred to him like he was some Japanese wrestler from abroad. I'm like, that's A-Train. We all know that chest hair. What are we doing? Like, and then after about 6 months of that, he's now just coming out with Brodus Clay dancing in a ring.
And it was a step up.
But they were still losing, even though they were two giant guys who were like a combined weight of like 700 pounds were losing to other jobbers. It was horrendous. But fair play to him, because even though he was never my favourite in any regard, I look back now at all his gimmicks and I'm like, he was outrageous.
Oh yeah. He was a fucking beast. Like
Prince Albert. Never forget.
His matches with Kane back in the day.
He had some good ones.
If we got that on Raw today, we'd be creaming ourselves.
I don't know. I would like to say matches like Bronson Reed and Ivar are like pretty reminiscent.
They're reminiscent.
Big men matches that are surprisingly good.
But thinking about that back in the day when SmackDown and Raw matches were 3 minutes long, to have a match like that back then be the kind of match we'd have on the show today and still love, we didn't know how good we had it. Really didn't.
So my next two are less ironic and genuine enjoyment. Like, because like I said, I didn't really love Albert, but I feel like he deserves a shout out on it, especially on a jobbers list. You got to give him his flowers. Next is
You fucking smart.
Tajiri.
That's not fair. Tajiri's not a jobber.
Name a Tajiri run, a memorable Tajiri run, other than him and Regal when they went through that weird dark phase of like him being Regal's enforcer.
Evil Tajiri was a good run.
That was off the back of that, was it not?
I've been off the back of it, but it's still off the back.
And even then, who did he fight?
Several people at WrestleMania 20 who I can't name any of, other than Ultimo Dragon because he fell off the top rope.
He was a jobber, man.
Fuck.
And I love him. I love Tajiri. He was great. He has one of the most confusing finishes of all time because I feel like it never won him a match.
The Tarantula. You can't win a match with the Tarantula.
Exactly, because it doesn't make sense.
You literally, I don't think you can even tap out to it.
You can't.
He's outside the ring.
And this is a hardcore match. No, wait, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, you can't tap out to the Tarantula. It never made sense.
That just
also,
adds to
Poison
the
Mist,
Fury.
I'm pretty sure was an illegal move. So the man's whole moveset never made sense. So for a jobber, his role really was all gimmick. Like, it was like, people want to see you do your weird moves. They want to see the mist. They want to see you do that weird, funky movement. But you're opening the show and you got to do this all in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and then we're going to stick you with William Regal and you're going to basically be silent most of the time. And we're going to say some very racist shit at you. And you're just going to nod and laugh. And a fair fucking play to Tajiri, bro. He was a good sport.
He was a very good sport. In fairness to him, I think that whole feeling of his character not knowing the rules, not knowing how to wrestle, like not knowing how to do a move in the ring so you can make time to tap out. It just makes the inclusion of William Regal feel like his carer.
Which, weirdly, was also his role with Eugene.
Fuck! He does have good carer energy.
Poor William Regal.
Poor William Regal.
He should be on this list. My last one is going to annoy you, I feel like, but it's for obvious reasons. He was actually my favourite jobber because, again, someone who, before Lance Storm and sometimes in and around, and weird amount of comebacks for this man as well. In my speed runs and jumping in various places, he just pops up and it's like, Jesus Christ, I really thought you were done like in 2001. Scotty Too Hotty, part of one of my favourite personal stables. Like, yes, I know he did actually have runs, but let's be honest, like, he just really couldn't break the mid card. Like, he couldn't get into it. He couldn't stay in it. Like, there were moments, obviously, I think, Too Cool when they had their moments, like, him and Rikishi became tag champions a couple times.
Yeah. Back when he was in Too Hot with Grandmaster Sexay.
That's where it started.
Brian Christopher.
They were great. Again, they were always like, that lower and early card sort of position. But again, he had a set that people were happy to see on repeat, and like that. And it was always good. Like his theme song, his energy, everything about Scotty G Hotty for like a guy who clearly just understood his role. He's like, you could tell, and I know for a fact he went off and he just took his gimmick off into the indies, made his little checks here and there, and was just a happy man.
As soon as people will see Scotty Too Hotty's coming to my town with bumfuck wrestling, I'll go see Scotty Too Hotty for $20.
Yeah, there's no Triple H or fucking The Rock, but mate, it's fucking Scotty Too Hotty. He's gonna do the worm.
So you can be. There are times where I'm not in the mood for Triple H. Mostly those were on Mondays in 2004. But I'm always in the mood for Scotty Too Hotty. Cheer me up.
Turn it up. I'm like, way. Let's
bang it.
Yeah, so Scotty makes my jobber list. I know you've got a jobber list, so I'm going to let you get onto yours.
I got a jobber list. Bold of you to think Scotty would upset me there.
I wasn't sure.
I can't wait to upset you.
Oh Jesus! If you put Kane on your jobber list, I'm gonna fucking walk out. I'm taking the
fine.
title with me.
It's fine. We'll start with Jimmy Wang Yang.
Jimmy Wang Yang.
It's only as I've gotten older where I've appreciated him more. Because what a stupid fucking gimmick. And he was... The reason I'm putting it is because I've gone for this with a different tone to you. As in, mine's got a degree of hopelessness. Just like just like my bedroom past 1 a.m. There's a real stench of hopelessness in here. And...
You horrible man.
To myself... there's a sense that he was never going to achieve anything, but at the same time, I enjoyed seeing him on my TV. You know, like it's a unique. You know, I like seeing him do the little walk to the ring while there's like just weird country music playing. It's like,
oh man,
I know he's not going to win this match, but at the same time, if I had to choose between him or another jobber on the roster. I was going to say, I'd much rather see him lose, but no, I'd much rather just see him in general.
Nah, big Lance Storm. Every time.
I'd rather... When I watch Lance Storm, though, it's because I kind of want him to win. Because I have a level of, like, real...
I didn't care about him. I just didn't mind him. I was like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, yeah.
There he is.
What is his gimmick? Yeah, we talked about this 100 times. I don't want to rip on
boring.
Lance Storm.
There he is.
Don't, Steve. Leave him alone. Steve.
That would get onto my Rushmore of wrestling themes, by the way. Fucking pin. I'm going to move on from Jimmy Wang Yang. I'm going to try and get through this one nice and quick because I think my theme of hopelessness is something you don't want to linger too much on a podcast.
We've got to get moving on because I need at least 20 minutes for this quiz.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know how long it's going to take.
I know. It's quite lucky. I fucking only did a few of these, isn't it? Considering I struggled on the tag teams one as well because I'm not a big fan of tag team wrestling. Second up is the 269 winless matches run. It's Kurt Hawkins.
I knew it. I found this out when we talked about him season 1 when I made fun of him because he had to fight Brodus Clay on his debut, and I at the time had no idea who he was, and you were like, "That's Kurt Hawkins. He's one of the Edgeheads." And I was doing the editing for that, and in Googling Kurt Hawkins because I still didn't know who he was, I saw the top headline was longest losing streak in WWE history, which he still holds.
You know what's quite incredible? That would have been about 6 years. Oh, fuck. Sorry, it's like being back at former studio. I'm not going to...
Don't give him credit, not yet. We get a deal.
We like the staff here. We like one of the staff here. Kurt Hawkins was kind of incredible in the sense that I think that run where Brodus Clay came in would have been like 2012. That run he was on with 269 was like 2018. And he was probably fired in between then as well. So,
and he still didn't win shit.
Vince is going by the score. I'm not finished with you yet.
Now take this check and lay down for 3 seconds for any motherfucker I put in front of you.
Sorry.
No,
we're going to have to cut that.
Oh, no, we're keeping that one. We'll just put Vince Hayes over my face.
We'll just put the pencil moustache.
And the look of shame he should have at all times.
Yeah, he's definitely...
But no, for real, Kurt Hawkins, like... I tried to watch a clip when I was doing this editing, and I was like... I feel bad for him because he just seemed like the unfortunate... Especially, I don't know, I looked at Edgehead era, and I was like... Yeah. He just seemed like the unfortunate third guy who... It happened a lot in a lot of eras, is why almost like the Roman thing is so crazy, because like even with the Shield, it looked like Roman was going to be the third guy, and then somehow he's now the top of all three. But like
the guy,
yeah, there was almost that rule with the third guy. He was just the third guy. Like, you know, one of them was Edge,
who is Adam Copeland,
for the namesake, the leader of the group. And you know, let's not pretend fucking, was it Zach?
You don't know his name. What are we not pretending?
I'm like, what's his fucking name?
Zack Ryder.
Yeah, what's his real name?
Matt Cardona.
That's it. I think I was getting like confused. I was like, I know it was like Zach, and then I was like, no, it was Zack Ryder. But his real name
Chelsea
was
Green's husband.
all right, fucking hell. I know who Matt Cardona is, for the record. I've seen what he's been doing. He's considered like the current king of the Indies.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, I think it is quite unfortunate that you've got Edge in one corner, and then you have the lamest of the three, who like isn't really great and probably can't draw that much. And then you also have Kurt Hawkins as well. So
Just hoping for a little bit of that.
I'm not a big fan.
That side fame.
Side fame. That is probably the easiest way to get big in wrestling.
Paid for appearances.
Look at
one of the Edgeheads. We won't announce it yet.
It's like the lads who were with Jinder Mahal back in 2017. You just take a few bumps, you get on the road, have a few beers, you're all right. But I think Kurt Hawkins, like, you have to have him on the list, because if you're doing greatest jobbers, this man didn't win in about 3 years. You retire after the 12th loss in a row. Why are you still going? Because he loves the business. Passion. I'm going to move on from Kurt. I'm going to go on to... Do you know who James Ellsworth is?
No. Why does it sound like someone I
Brilliant.
know personally?
So, this is the only man with a better super kick than Shawn Michaels.
Surely
Because
not.
this is a man whose his face ended here. And he did a super kick, and David Otunga went, "No chin music!" And it was the biggest contribution to wrestling David Otunga's ever done. But this is a guy who was born in 2016, and he cut a legendary promo. And you know when you look at someone, and they look like if you blew on them, they'd fall over. He was a jobber with that kind of era. And he comes out, and they put him on the mic, and it was, "Any man with 2 hands has a fighting chance." And then Braun Strowman beat him in 6 seconds. He ended up in a world title match at the end of that year against AJ Styles. And he had a hope spot.
Aww.
People thought he was going to win the belt.
People thought he was going to win.
So, lucky viewers, my face has been like this for the entire episode. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. I'll sit here. And that entire... Something you need to remember with SmackDown 2016 was in a time of horror for wrestling. SmackDown 2017 was the tits. It was so good. And it was back when they called it SmackDown Live, because it was in that era. But he was the star in a feud between AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. And I think when
surprisingly.
I think when you manage to outshine 2 really talented guys like that, you have to go on the list. Have to be on the list.
Have to go on the list.
You just made the list.
Oh, God.
Please retire. I'm going to go with number 4. And it is Kane. It's Kane.
You're a heretic.
Come on, man. 2013-14 Kane.
You don't feud with The Undertaker several times throughout your career and get called a jobber. I'm sorry, that's fucking crazy.
When you get put on a concession stand and you get mustard and ketchup shot in your face by Ryback, you're a jobber.
Who's putting him over?
He was wearing slacks. He was called Corporate Kane.
And in that
Lillian
era,
Garcia
don't
said,
make me actually Smarky argue with you about this. This is ridiculous.
I fucking dare you. I fucking dare you.
In that era, he was in like the final 3 of a Royal Rumble.
Because
with Roman Reigns.
Because no one liked him.
It's not jobbing. It wasn't jobbing. He was never a jobber.
He lost the match, so he jobbed.
When you're jobbing to me is you're not part of a story.
Also, he wasn't in the final 3. He was in the final 4. Because Rusev popped up out of nowhere and got eliminated.
I would have to be able to do a playback of who hit the floor first between him and Show.
We'll get VAR. What
was,
an awful.
My point was, for me, a job is not someone who's not part of a storyline. He was part of that was the biggest storyline of the year.
But
He was the enforcer. He just betrayed Daniel Bryan and the whole post hell no shit. Like, that's not jobbing. It was bullshit and it was painful to watch. But I wouldn't say I was jobbing. It was shit.
I would say it's jobbing. Because his entire role in that was to make someone else look better. He didn't get himself over. He wasn't there to improve his own stock.
He got pops, man. He got pops. Kurt Hawkins was just announced with no theme song most of his matches. It was just, yeah. Let his name flash on the screen for a second. You're like, who's that? It doesn't matter. He's going to lose in a second.
No, that's the guy with the really long losing streak. We love him. They turned this into a WrestleMania fucking...
How are you putting Kane on the same list as that? You're just trying to annoy me.
Listen,
you can't legitimize this, okay? He's not a jobber. Don't listen to him. He's losing his smartdom. I'm keeping his belt today. He's losing his smartdom today. And this was the beginning of the end, okay?
If there was a Monday job squad, Kane would be on it. He was called Corporate Kane.
I saw an awful video the other day about why Kane is one of the most overrated wrestlers of all time. And I was like, do you want to fight?
He's 100% not.
Like, someone, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Cultaholic. Someone wants to fight me.
He was not overrated.
Fucking fuck him up.
I'm going to go to the toilet because if we're going into the challenge now.
Oh no, we've still got like a few minutes. I've got two that I want to get over because I feel like tags need to be done. And just quickly, I'll go through my mid carders.
Go on. That's quite a hard one.
Mid carders for me is like people that I put them on the list because I believe none of them got the main belt, but various others. And were part of various
think even
things.
if you did get the main belt, I think sometimes you can still be a perennial mid card. Dolph Ziggler, for example.
Dolph's on the list.
Of course, he's on the list.
Dolph Ziggler. Let's start with Dolph. Dolph Ziggler's on the list because
Nick Nemeth.
I feel like he was one of the greatest new era mid carders who got the gold because the fans wanted to see him get the gold so fucking badly. You know, he somehow made it through being part of a feud amongst John Cena and somehow didn't get completely ruined from that, although he got ruined quite quickly afterwards.
He also snobbed Vicky Guerrero a few times.
Legend. Yeah, Dolph,
I think
we don't even need to go too much into Dolph. Like, it was just like, you know, the
longevity of the guy. 15 years on from the Dolph Ziggler debut. He was part of the Spirit Squad. He was Kerwin White's caddy.
It's weird because I probably saw him and never noticed that was him.
No, they did the worst thing ever. You know, what's his most iconic feature when you look at him?
His hair.
Yes. There was one time where he just came out to the ring with Vicky. He just had shaved hair. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
What have you done?
You can't do that to Dolph Ziggler. That's like bringing Kane out in slacks. I mean, oh fuck. God damn it.
He's right. I'm ignoring you. Next is X-Pac.
Yeah, X-Pac. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
He's one of my, I told him before, he's one of my favourite sort of silver golden age. I don't even know what age. Like, people that I think is unexpected. And yeah, he was just great. He was great.
Yeah, he was.
Him and Kane as a tag team.
Yeah. It did also ruin X-Pac's career, because no one ever forgave him.
For betraying Kane.
Yeah. Fucking Tory. The UK right now. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it was great. I'll move on quickly. Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah. Lots. I almost put Shelton Benjamin on my tag teams list.
He keeps annoying me now because I keep seeing him. I was like, surely you're in good shape, man. You look great. Just come back. I can't find out what's like wrong with him. I'm like, is he just retired? Is he doing a fucking Wade Barrett and he just can't be bothered? Like, he's like, yeah, like, I'm just having fun. It's like, fucking just come back and wrestle, man. What are you doing? Like, you could make money. Like,
I've kind of got into Dungeons and Dragons. You know, it does take a little bit of time.
Just come back.
This Witcher card game, you know, it's fun. Good for him. He's been overlooked for way too long, and I think he probably deserved a world heavyweight title run at some point.
I just wish he had more intercontinental title runs because I said like when I was speed running and going through Money in the Banks and like there was just like this period where like you could pick random events over the I'd say what 2000 and I might be completely wrong here, but let's go. When was the first Money in the Bank?
Pay-per-view or actual match?
Match.
2005.
So between 2000, I'd say 5, 6, 7, you could pick random shows or even like any random show, and there's a high chance that he was Intercontinental Champion at the time.
He had a different hair color, but it's like
he was just always, and it's weird that he's not one of the most. He hasn't won it the most, but anyway, yeah, Shelton Benjamin, great. Like I'd say, for me, the title I'd love to give him personally is he is the actual Mr. Money in the Bank because his performances and spots in the first 3 Money in the Banks.
In the same way,
they're not even matching it now. Like they're not matching it now. Like no one's doing. It's cool. Just him running up a ladder when it was like at a tip. Oh my god, it's incredible.
That was so good. It got into the wrestling games, even though he was the only person to do it.
Ever do it? It was sick.
Like you have Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. You have Kofi Kingston, Mr. Royal Rumble. He is Mr.
He's Mr. Money in the Bank, man. He made doing spots at Money in the Bank a thing.
Yeah.
And my last one, it's an interesting one. It's a man who I believe is somewhat still wrestling to this day. It's the ass man, Billy Gunn.
Boo, boo.
I know you thought I was going to maybe go Goldust, and I almost did.
No, that's too obvious.
It's too obvious, and yeah, I'll put him. He's on another list.
Well, Billy Gunn is still wrestling. He's in AEW.
Billy Gunn's
also
great.
He's 60 and he's in the shape of his life.
He looks great, and
that's why they call him QT.
I think it's just he was weirdly consistent. Like, I'll get into this. Like, I might even just hint at something, but for me, he was always the less gimmicky and actually more able wrestler out of the two of the New Age Outlaws. Like,
yeah. I mean, maybe to a fault in the sense that he needed a mouthpiece. He wasn't the most charismatic, but
like I go back to it as I mentioned earlier. Like, what was so funny is despite how like bizarre and strange and angle the Billy and Chuck thing was, I think what was so funny was like they were sort of a post-Attitude Era tag team that was following on from all that, that great Attitude Era, TLC era tag team that somehow those two weirdly fit in that era and they did a good job. Like they put on good matches. Like I recall them like, beating decent tag teams and
that
in
was
convincing
what annoyed
fashion.
Me about them. They retained the belts at WrestleMania against like the APA, the Dudleys, the Hardys. Those are the Attitude Era boys, and they will retain the belts.
And yeah, but they did it in convincing fashion, and because they were actually both
they're fucking units.
They were good wrestlers, and like Billy Gunn was a great wrestler.
He did make sure Chuck Palumbo had a career. He really did. That whole Chuck Palumbo coming back with the biker gimmick in 2008. we put that under the rug.
Wasn't he? He was in the FBI, wasn't he?
No, I think he just cosplayed as the FBI.
No,
I think the FBI were gone by then.
Well, the full-blooded Italians?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure he was in the FBI. I'm sure of it.
Oh, 2004. There's Nunzio. Little Guido. Oh, sorry. I've got Tony Mamaluke.
You're the smart, bro.
Chuck Palumbo does sound like the kind of guy
I'm
who'll
sure
be
of it.
Bada bing and bada boom and how you doing? So
have you got any more lists? Because I've got. You got tag teams, right?
I've got tag teams.
Let's go tag for tag.
I think we should play tag team snap here because I feel like knowing the eras we grew up.
You must have the Hardy Boys, right?
I got the Hardy Boys.
Everyone's got the Hardy Boys.
We got the Hardy Boys.
Do you even like tag teams or know what tag teams are if you don't have the Hardy Boys?
And have you put them with a Z on your list?
Of course.
Of course you have. You just put Hardys. It's important. It's been quite hard with them recently because Matt Hardy's really cringe, and Jeff, it makes me sad.
Yeah, I feel like you look at them and you think, it makes sense how they end up this way. They look like one of them was going to be a junkie. Let's be honest. I mentioned them. I'm moving on from Hardys. One of mine, I don't know if they're on yours, but they're a bit obvious, but I don't know if everyone still considers them, but they're annoyingly on the list for me. Because they weren't necessarily my favourites, but I do. You got
have to respect.
You got to respect them. It's they mentioned them. It's New Age Outlaws.
Okay, yeah, sure. That's valid.
Great.
I'm not gonna lie. I think there's a very good shout for them being the best part of DX.
Yeah,
I think
that's
DX...
literally was it for me. It was like they kept the energy of DX alive because post Triple H rambling in the ring for like 20 minutes, like, I know you want to handle this and weird, really cheesy, controversial things now when you look back at it.
I'm gonna be racist.
Yeah. And I know you think you're cool with your weird gay pants on. It's like, he would say shit like that. Like,
I was listening to the new
and I
Eminem
get
track
chicks,
today.
and I fuck girls like China. It's like, what?
Man, after that new Eminem song released today, nothing can make me look back on the 2000s and think, maybe we have outgrown that more than Eminem and DX.
And Triple H ring promos.
Being racist to a kind Pakistani man.
So, yeah, I've got them. So, you haven't got New Age Outlaws?
No New Age Outlaws.
Who have you got?
I have got Hardys. I've gone for the Dudleys.
It was a tough choice not to go for Dudleys.
The thing that made me a fan of them when I was younger, because they always came across as so much colder and less sort of, not charismatic, but there was less character to them, I think, than the Hardys. They were much more rigid, a little bit more set in their ways. But there was the match they had with Edge and Christian at the Royal Rumble in 2001, where they came into it with a concussion. And even when I knew it was fake as a kid, I just respected the fuck out of it. And I say they didn't have character, but it was believable because they came across as hard as fuck.
Bubba was always very convincing, this sort of like unhinged guy. He's very good with the eyes.
Yes.
I found.
That's why they turned him into Bully Ray. Like, you believe he's a cunt. Yeah. Apparently he is a cunt, but still.
Yeah, I've seen his podcast interviews. He seems annoyingly outspoken, but fair play to him. He's a legend.
He is. I am glad. I kind of wish I'd seen it at the time. I am glad he got that title run in TNA.
Yeah.
I'm always a big fan of Taz. My balls. So we're two down each now. Who else you got?
I'm gonna give my annoying one. I didn't pick the Dudleys because I wanted to have at least one person that was just more personal preference, because they're not a reputable tag team, but I've got to put Too Cool in there.
Yeah, that's fine.
One of the most iconic sort of songs and dance gimmicks, and they were just enough to transition out of that Attitude Era where they were something dumb and very, very gimmicky that we still just allowed for a little bit longer post Attitude Era.
I think that's easier to do in the tag team, easier to validate in the tag sphere, because tag team wrestling is more about that. Yeah. I am going to go piss, because I'm going to piss myself otherwise.
Run.
So how much time we wanted to spend on each one. So I came into the mindset of, we will take like 20 minutes on each category. He was like, no, I've got hundreds of ideas. Let's crack on. So you just got past number 3.
Yeah, which is
I'm going to hit you with my number 3. It's quite an obvious one. It's Edge and Christian.
So you've gone for the classic Attitude Era, peak of tag team era. Yeah.
I looked online for references, just to get an idea of who the greats were. I think when you look back on the history of it, most of those greats probably came in the start of the 90s, 80s as well. Things like the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. I do have one of those in there, but I'm looking at it from an Attitude Era point of view. You might be able to figure them out eventually. Edge and Christian, though, they were unique, like, because they were such good heels, because they didn't do like nefarious things. They were just pricks, and they loved themselves, and that you needed that in a thing of like everyone being like a nice team. they were quite together. No, those were those two dickhead mates you had in the friend group
Yeah.
who had a joke about everyone behind their back. And they are both really excellent wrestlers in their own right. And also Christian. I prefer Christian these days, if I'm honest. Mainly because Adam Copeland stole my surname.
To me, they were the ones I liked the least of that three, and I think that was their role. That you had the Hardys who were like, the visual sort of like, I don't know, they had, the whole Neon was just like, they were like visually pleasing, they had great move sets, they had the cool music, they had Lita, it was, they were that, if you were into alternate and into rock at the time, especially the new metal phase, of course you're going to love the Hardys.
They're so expressive, King.
The Dudleys literally were ECW's tag team division, brought into WWE, and they're undeniably fun. The table gimmick will never die. Like, where are we at now? What's the first thing people start chanting when there's a prospect of any sort of like no disqualification? We want tables.
And then suddenly Cody Rhodes tries to drop kick one at a live show in front of you, and you realise you fucking hated him the whole time. Why did he give us Mania? Why didn't you give us WrestleMania, Cody?
Anyway.
Not worth it. Not worth it.
So yeah, I'll get into my last one, which I think might surprise you. I just think they deserve it. They're fun. I'm in a moment right now, they're still going, that I'm worried that like we might not get one last decent run from them. But it's the New Day.
Yeah, New Day. Absolutely fine. Which two members are you going to go for? Are you going to go for Xavier and Kofi?
You have to.
I think it's fair if you do it as a stable.
Yeah, no.
Freebird rules, man.
It's what I wrote about Too Cool. I wrote all variants.
Sure.
No. Because, Scotty and Grandmaster and Scotty, and because it was always Scotty, it was either him and Grandmaster or him and Rikishi. And both iterations were fun to watch. And it's the same with New Day. Like, yes, Kofi and Xavier, to me, are like the tag team too, because to me, Big E should have always been Enforcer and then future prospect champion.
Go on to become the champ.
Yeah. But then individually they all have the right to a good singles run. But yeah, New Day.
I think a sign of how good of a team they were is the fact that WWE never broke them up. Big E was just like, guys, I want to go fight for the belt now. And they just had a cuddle. And they're like, yeah, no, you can come back whenever. They never do that.
Yeah.
But they know the New Day. They came in as like a pariah. They looked like the most awful tag team going.
So cheesy, so annoying, but then you let them talk, you're like, oh, these guys are fun. They're funny.
Yeah, in terms of merch sales in the last 10 years, I wouldn't be shocked if they're number one.
That's always Rey Mysterio. it's Rey Mysterio.
I hate that you could be right. I almost put New Day on mine. I was torn between them and the Usos, but then the Smark in me came out. And then my nights watching 1997 Raw came out.
Did you put the fucking Road Warriors?
No. Not Road Warriors 2000. Fucking hell. Here's Paul Ellering. No, I went in the Hot Foundation.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I'm doing this as a stable as well.
Okay, I was about to say, so we're not talking about...
Not Jim Neidhart and Brett. Although I understand they were a classic. I know they were a great tag team. I just went with that era when they were all heels. And they came down to the ring with like the most sour faces possible. And the flags over their shoulders. The British Bulldog, you had Owen. And you had Brett out front. They were fucking incredible in the ring. Because you got Brett, Owen, Jim's somewhere. Bulldogs.
Davey Boy.
Davey
fucked up.
Yeah. It was 30 years ago. Let it go. And I was a little bit torn because I feel like this would have been better for a stable one. But I love the heel Bret Hart is always the best Bret Hart because he had every right to be a heel.
Notice that he's on no one's list properly except for this. Where's Bret Hart, bro? What is your favourite wrestler? No,
Bret Hart was done dirty because he was the leader and he was carrying the torch, much like his contemporary Beth Phoenix in a really dark time for the division. You never thought you'd hear that today, did you?
Weird.
No, but
Tag team Rushmore. Fair.
go on, ruin my night.
Right, so let's get on to this quiz. I've done it in an interesting way, similar to how you did it for me. You've got to get half, but it's a lot of points up for grabs. It's actually nearly 16 points. So I'm going to be fair to you and say if you get 7.5,
7.5.
there's a half point up for grabs. But 7.5 or 8, it's yours. The belt is yours. You got to break 7.5 at least.
I will
7 is
take
not
this to
enough.
the wedding tomorrow if I win this.
Let's get this going. Stephen, who is the speed champion?
Ricochet.
Fake out. Of course, you should know that. Come on, man. That's basic knowledge. No, the real question is, who did he beat to become the inaugural champion?
Oh, fuck. No idea.
Steven. I knew that'd get you. Come on, take a wild guess.
Take a wild guess. Who is Nimble? I know Pete Dunne was he was producing these matches. It can't be him. I'd have to do that for another 72 people on the main roster. Wow.
I'm going to have to push you for an answer.
I'm not going to ask for a clue. I'm going to go for...
God, if you guess this, I'm going to fucking scream.
JD Madonna.
Oh, Steven. I'm only fair to you. It was not JD McDonough. But for half a point, I was going to let you try and guess 3 of the people in the tournament.
Right.
So JD McDonough is one of them. So I'll let you have that. There is 5 other names on this. Well, technically 6 because you still haven't guessed the person who he beat. If you can name at least 2 other people, I'm going to give you a minute.
Oh, fuck. I'm just shoot names out now.
It's a really random bunch, I can't lie.
Yeah, I know, because now I'm on the spot. I can't think of who's small.
3 of them, I don't assume they're all small.
They can't be quick.
Right names, come on. Just people...
Bronson Reed.
Correct.
Oh,
one other person. Give me one other name and I'll give you half a point.
Lose to Ricochet. Fuck. Finn Balor.
No, keep going.
Yoshitatsu.
No.
Brodus Clay. Oh, fuck.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. What? Just throw names out.
I got nothing.
Okay. Well, the person he beat was Johnny Gargano.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Other names in this list, because I want to get through this, was JD McDonough, Bronson Reed, Dragon Lee, Angel, Axiom, and Cedric Alexander.
Never would have got any of them.
Yeah, horrible fucking...
Bunch.
What was that for a tournament? Anyway, question 2. This has got a bit of a long explanation. Now, we both watched WrestleMania 40. We both saw how insanely long the main events were. Insanely long. Like, over an hour for both main events. My question is, Stephen, how long were the intros, combined time for the tag team main event, night 1, and the championship match on night 2? What was the combined time for the intros? So I'm counting from the point the first person's music starts and then the bell rings.
Oh, we're including Samantha Irving's.
Yes. Was it A, 15 minutes, B, 25 minutes, C, 35 minutes, or D, 40 minutes of intro combined for the main event?
You've gone with 5s there, and then all of a sudden you've thrown a 40 on the end.
I was surprised because I'll be honest with you, I'm not trying to throw you. It was shorter than I thought. I really thought it was way more. But I went back and counted it the other day.
I mean, so you had 6 people.
all the biggest names in the industry right
Yeah.
now. Fireworks galore.
I can tell you there would have been 8 minutes at least alone for just the entrances on night 2. 25. It feels too short, but I'm going to go 25.
It was 35.
Fuck!
It was 35
How
minutes.
can we allow this to happen?
It's ridiculous,
We
right?
took the piss out of the Undertaker for this.
Insane. Right. Next question. This one is you can get some points back here. Right. So, how many? It looks like I've written GCSEs, but it's WWE GSCs. How many WWE Grand Slam champions are currently signed to AEW? Is it A, 4, B, 5, C, 9, or D, 10? Grand Slam champions currently signed to AEW.
So, Chris Jericho is a Grand Slam champion. I don't think Edge is. Then again, he doesn't work there. Only Adam Copeland does. Is Christian a Grand Slam champion? Can I have the numbers again, please?
So it's either 4, 5. You can see how I've made it weirdly close on either side.
Yeah.
Or 9 or 10.
Are we including women in this?
Potentially?
God.
Currently signed, remember. Currently signed.
I'm going 4.
It's 9. Now, for a bonus
What?
point, for a bonus 3 points, Stephen, can you name them? It's 9. I will give you, you have named one of them, Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho.
Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll be fair to you. You have named 3 of them. Edge and Christian are Grand Slam champions. And they're currently signed. That is 3 of the 9.
Do I have to get all of them?
For 3 points.
Fuck.
This is a big catch up.
Daniel Bryan. John Moxley. Chris Jericho?
You already say Chris Jericho? You've already got him.
Fuck. Who the fuck is Jack Swagger? Or
No.
Hager? Saraya.
No.
Mercedes Monet.
She was the cheeky 9th. That surprised me. I was like, fuck.
Oh.
She's the only female Grand Slam who's now in AEW. There's only like 6 Grand Slam in WWE women's.
That's the thing, though. I can't remember like who the fuck works in AEW. They employ everyone.
So-
Big Show.
Yes.
Mark Henry.
No.
He just left the other day, actually. Jim Ross.
Oh, the other 2 are so fucking cheeky.
Jeff Hardy.
Yes.
Matt Hardy.
No. Oh, the last one, it's a bit of a stretch. He's technically signed, but he doesn't do a lot of matches.
Signed.
Think deep.
But he is an in-ring performer still.
Yes. He's been mentioned today.
Oh. It's not QT Marshall, Billy Gunn, is it?
No.
Fuck! I was so confident.
I'll give you 3 more guesses because we're running out of time.
Known for singles work?
Yes. Very much so.
Very much so.
You threw shade at me for him. I'll give you that. It's a big
Oh,
clue.
you put him on a list. Do you know my memory? Do you know the fishbowl that this is?
Oh, I've got to push. I've got to push. He's on my Rushmore.
Not X-Pac. Oh, he's on your outright Rushmore. Not Kane. Not Shawn Michaels. Not The Undertaker.
I feel like I'm pushing to give you this because you have no points.
Who's the 4th one?
Who was the last one? Come on.
Rob Van Dam.
It's Rob Van Dam.
Fuck. Is he employed there?
He's technically still signed to AEW.
God damn.
You have 3 points. All right. Stephen, who was the last European champion? I've got options for you. If you can name this, I'm going to fucking scream.
I'm going to do you one better.
It's not RVD because RVD
It's Jeff
beat
Hardy.
this. Yeah, well done. 4 points. It's
You
who he
know
beat.
the creepy old man? He recorded that match for me.
Amazing. Amazing. You're showing your smartdom. Right, moving on. So you're on 4 points. What is... This is a really random one. What is the name of Dusty Rhodes' theme?
Dusty Rhodes. Common Man? American Dream?
I'm going to need the full name.
Common Man working hard with his hands.
He's just a common man.
Is it he's just a common man?
No. If you don't know, you don't know it. Unfortunately, I haven't got options for you. It's Common Man Boogie.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
I know. I don't know if Vince did that. Because we always remember him.
It's really... Oh, well, I looked at it. He's been using it since like 89 or some shit.
89, that could... No, that would have been just before he went to that evil Fed. Oh.
You're going to love the next one. Which of these is not a former ring name of Mean Mark Callis? Is it A, Kane the Undertaker? Is it B, Dead Dice Morgan? Is it C, Texas Red? Or is it D, the Master of Pain?
Has he performed under this name?
Yeah, all former ring. Well, one of these is not a former ring name, but yeah.
Because he was originally going to come in as Kane the Undertaker. Oh, you bastard! I'm going Kane the Undertaker.
I'm sorry, Stephen. It is B, Dead Dice Morgan, because I actually combined one of his other ones. So it was like something else. Dice Morgan. And it was like Punisher Dice Morgan. Punisher, and he also used to be the Punisher as well. That was one of the other ones. Okay. We need to get through this. Which of these hasn't happened? Now, really listen to what I'm saying in each option. Which of these hasn't happened? A, Stone Cold brawling Batista. B, John Cena versus Kofi Kingston. C, Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love in the same match. Or D, Brock Lesnar versus Batista.
What was the last one?
Brock Lesnar versus Batista. One of these hasn't happened.
I've got to really listen to what you're saying. I know about the three faces of Foley. Can you repeat it to me nice and clearly, though?
Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love in the same match.
He didn't come in as Mick Foley. Or did he come in as McFine?
No, Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love. I didn't say Mick Foley.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't come in as Mick Foley instead of Mankind. Number one again, please.
Stone Cold brawling Batista.
So he didn't brawl with Batista. I'm going for number one.
Sorry. I used brawling for a reason. Because they haven't had a match, but they have brawled.
When?
He called him out once and they had a fight, and then Goldberg came out and got involved in the whole thing. It was when he was a GM. GM Austin. The answer is John Cena versus Kofi Kingston. They've never had a one-on-one match.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. You can't put two faces together.
I'm sorry. Right. This one is worth 2 points. You still got a chance for this. Right. Who has the most days as Intercontinental Champion combined?
Right.
Is it A, Chris Jericho, the man in first place? Is it B, The Miz, the man in second place for the most title reigns? Or is it C, Gunther, who has the most days as champion combined?
Ooh. Intercontinental?
Yeah.
I don't think it's Jericho. I think he's probably had a few more runs.
He's had the most runs with 9.
Shorter amount.
Miz has 8 runs.
Have they gone over? 666 days. I'm going Gunter.
You are correct.
Yeah.
For an extra
what
point,
a fucking run
for
that
an
was.
extra point, who has more days between Miz and Jericho?
Miz.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah,
Jericho on 9 runs only had 300 and I've got 32 days. Miz in 8 runs has 597 and Gunther 666.
Miz is underrated for his title runs with that belt. But I'll always remember when Jericho dropped the belt to Benjamin. Always remember that one.
All right, we got some doozies here. So you're now on 6 points.
I need 1.5 to win.
To win this. Now, for 1 point, how many vacancies have there been for the WWE/WWF Championship? I'll give you the options. Is it A, 3? Is it B, 7? Is it C, 9? Or is it D, 11? 9/11.
Woo! I noticed you said WWF, sorry, WWE.
Yeah, so I'm counting both. Like,
So
basically, its entire run.
We're starting from Hoagie Bear to none of this. Bob Backlund.
Yeah, we're not gonna go over, like, we're not including. So we're calling this what's the word? Counted. Like, it's in the lineage. Not all the shady territory shit. So yeah, this is acknowledged and considered canon.
Okay.
So 3, 7, 9, or 11 vacancies of the championship.
I think there's less than I'd expect. Outright vacancies, like through the years, because usually it happens when it's forced to be. Like CM Punk, they did that for the storyline, but usually you'd have it because of an actual injury.
The title's been around for a long time.
Often they'll do a title match for it. I want to go 3.
I'm sorry, Stephen. It's the other end of the spectrum. It's actually 11. There have been 11 vacancies.
I really struggled to find any of those.
I had to look. I was using SmackDown Hotel and Cage Fight for a lot of my information. 2 great sources. Okay, the last question. You can win it with this, but it's a tough one. You're gonna hate me for this one. It's a 2-parter. Stephen, can you name the last 3 NXT champions, men and women? I'm going to count the current. So if you can name the current and then the last 2 before them.
So Roxanne Perez.
Correct.
Laura Valkyria?
Correct.
Wasn't Natalia, was it?
No.
Can I bounce between the 2 while I fight for time?
Yeah, what do you think about it yet? You've got until we get kicked out.
His name... Trick Williams.
Current champion?
Bron Breakker?
No.
Was Bron Breakker the one before that?
Bron Breakker's not on this list.
Oh, fuck. Carmelo Hayes.
Yes. Someone between him and Trick Williams, though. You should know this.
Baron Corbin.
No.
Should know this.
Are you even watching wrestling right now?
Not really, no.
Jesus Christ, even.
We've been through this. We live in the UK. It's really hard.
And what you got for me?
Ilya Dragunov.
Correct. That is the last 3 men. That's 1 point. You need 1 point, Stephen, and this belt is yours. You're on 7 points. Can you name me the second to last women's NXT champion? You should know this. Think about the stories. Think about what was going on. It's very relevant. Who did Lyra beat to become the NXT?
Is it Becky Lynch?
It was Becky Lynch.
Give me
It's
that
your
fucking belt.
fucking belt.
Give me that fucking belt. See the strap? I'm going to defend it with all of my heart, all of my honour. Fuck!
You wanted this so fucking bad.
The boyhood dream has come true.
It's crazy because it's your belt. You bought it.
Yeah, no, I fucking spent my whole money. We're actually ending on that. Wow.
While I'm trying to fix this,
Oh, what happened? Oh, how'd you knock it off?
I put